Yeah, we met some people that introduced a Amish guy to pornography.
On the internet, via the internet. Of all things, guy's never seen a computer before in his life.
Nice. Ah.
Okay, I'm gonna look out your window here a little bit.
You can smell the fresh air.
Yeah, smell that.
Sensory video.
You really got to be here to feel that.
Be in the moment.
The Yaak Valley lies within Montana's northwestern boundaries, like the corner of something, like the edge of all things, making the center of a new thing. If you were to fall asleep and then wake to find yourself in Yaak, unless you had been there before, you would not recognize it as being any place you'd previously been. The town, comprised of 2 bars, a mercantile, and a laundromat, has only 2 well-maintained roads running like out-of-place swaths through the heart of thick forest and isolation. This place is far from anything, and its low elevation, around 2,000 feet, makes it more wet than is humanly comfortable, which probably explains the lack of Indian settlement in this valley. The Kootenai did visit this swamp, however, mainly to hunt game, and dubbed the long knife slit of a valley the Yaak, which means arrow.
The Yaak is a crossroads of biological diversity. It receives enough precipitation to grow immense cedar and larch, Montana's unique rainforest. The valley holds all Rocky Mountain carnivores, as well as sensitive and rare species of birds, plants, and fungi. Forest types range from ponderosa pine and lodgepole to dense tangles of cedar and hemlock. The Yaak is a vitally important biological corridor for many species. For carnivores like grizzly bears and wolves, it is a stepping stone between northwest Montana and British Columbia, the North Cascades, the Glacier Bob Marshall, Cabinet, and Selway Bitterroot wildland ecosystems. A handful of small roadless areas exist in archipelago formation, islands of rich habitat and a sea of clear cuts and roads. Many in the Yaak and the scientific community see the 150,000 roadless acres as the key to the valley's ecological health.
Well, from an ecological basis, it's about as close as we come to an inland rainforest, temperate rainforest in Montana. It is the lowest elevation area of the whole state. The rainfall is much greater than most areas of the state of Montana because it has a lot of the maritime influence from the Pacific Ocean, which brings a lot of wet weather over. So it's low elevation, it grows a lot of big old trees, and that's what the lumbermen found so attractive about it, is it grows big old growth trees.
We're really in a transitional zone between the intermountain forest and the coastal forest. And I mean, there's a whole line that's a transition between that. And as far as the continental USA, we're the northern part of that. And it's different than if you go down the line where that transitional line occurs. It's different in other places. It's very unique in the way of the diversity from, you can have a dry hillside that looks like intermountain forest, Doug fir, pea pine, lodgepole, and you get on another aspect, and there you are with old growth, hemlock, cedar, alpine fir, plants that you don't see other parts of Montana much, rhododendrons, white rhododendrons, and manzanita. Just, there's some big brush fields basically up Peak Creek, but that's also where a lot of the bears are too.
The Yaak River Valley is somewhat unique for grizzly bears in particular, because it is some of the last really low elevation interior grizzly bear habitat available in the northwest United States. And when I say low elevation, I mean primarily areas in the range of 2,000 to 3,000 feet along the Yaak River Valley and the Yaak River itself.
The vast majority of the valley's nearly 500,000 acres is owned and managed by the U.S. Forest Service. Like much of the Northwest, however, a checkerboard pattern of ownership was created as a legacy of the 1864 railroad grant. The other large landowner eventually became Champion International. In the 70s and 80s, the company began to liquidate its timber in the valley, mostly in ecologically sensitive riparian areas. This created an artificially and unsustainably high level of timber for local mills. The mills then hired more employees to handle the load. After exhausting its own holdings, Champion turned to the Forest Service for access to public lands. After several years of the same irresponsible logging, the company packed up, sold off its land for subdivision, and left town. Flora, fauna, and human communities were hit hard by the whole ordeal. The Yaak must now face economic and ecological reality with regard to its future. Conservation of land and culture is important to Valley residents. Fortunately, a new pilot project sponsored by the Forest Service may offer some hope for the Yaak. Stewardship contracting allows a community to create its own forest project, generally geared towards restoration. Local small-scale loggers work within environmental laws while supplying a truly sustainable flow of timber.
Communities such as the Yaak are very interested in projects where we can do some active management to reduce fuels. And the stewardship project would open up some unique opportunities where we could actually, a lot of the material that is more of a fuel base and doesn't necessarily have a product, at least with current markets. It might open up an opportunity for developing or searching out different markets for those products.
And then with the money that will be generated, the revenue that will be generated from selling the logs, there will be some restoration work done elsewhere in the Yaak or possibly in those units. Basically, it's a goods for services system. One new thing in this that is allowed is to be able to harvest timber and use that money elsewhere, whether it would be within that unit or another area in the Yaak, maybe 20 miles up the road.
What I'd like to see, and what I will see, you know, I don't have any control over that, but what I'd like to see is the stewardship contracting principle. We have a handful of loggers, very few. A lot of them have gone out of business. The ones we have do wonderful work, and I'd like to see them keep working. And I see the stewardship contracting principle where the end result of the job is what you're after, not a preset volume of fiber, as being ideal for the Yaak. Basically, to pay these guys to go in and do what they do really well without having to mark the trees, without having to measure the volume, just make the woods look the way the community wants it to look. And we gripe and moan the bad roads up here, what keep people out, but the county's sitting on $22 million road fund that basically came on the back of Yaak's clear cuts, and the Yaak is given and given and given, and you know, it'd be nice if we could just hold steady and sustain from here on out instead of following the rest of the country downhill, becoming homogenized and reduced and diminished. It's a great place, but you still can't come up here.
There is just a lot of work that can be done on the ground in the Yaak and other national forest areas in the northern Rockies to restore it. Unfortunately now we still have the Forest Service budget being skewed heavily towards resource extraction. So it's going to take a lot of work to get that turned around. In fact, get the will of the people who don't want to see logging on national forests quite overwhelmingly to get that area and areas like it preserved for what people really need, and that's clean air, clean water, recreational experiences that get us away from our hectic day-to-day lives and into the solitude of wilderness.
The biggest problem I have in advertising the biological rarity and value of this place is in our industrial, recreational, acquisitive culture where, you know, we want to go to the 10 best places or the 20 most hidden beaches or the 30 best towns. The name Yaak just becomes another trophy, another treasure that you want to go check out. And that's not the end of the world if somebody drives up there and stops and gets a burger at the tavern or gets a beer at the Dirty Shame, but that's not what this place is about. It's not really a place for people. That's why there's so few of us here. It's a hard place to live. It's not good for backpacking. It rains, it snows. You have very few views. I mean, it's not like the traditional wilderness areas where you get up high and you see those majestic panoramas. I mean, you're down in the jungle going through alder and getting face slapped and scratched and stuff. It's not what culture and society has taught us or conditioned us to believe as wilderness. It's wildness. It's a biological wilderness. It's not a recreational wilderness. I can't remember what the question was. Well, stay away. Just protect it, but stay away.
Canada's like
Hey, tell us where you are. What's unique about the Yaak? Leslie, what's unique about the Yaak? Want to go for a swim?
Hey David, why is this place important to protect?
Why?
Yeah.
We're going to talk to the grizzlies and the wolves about that one.
Okay.
Take a look at that. That's good for you. If you don't know what's going on, you never will.
That's right. If you don't understand this right now, you never will. Yaak River Valley, folks. The immensity of what's happening right now is rock water. My God. How do I explain it? Look, this right here that we're looking at, that's quite another fall dropping off the edge there.
Yeah. And snag. Whoa, there's some big large activity out there.
yeah, we see IMS.
Yeah.
No, we got another tripod. Thanks for building those sturdily.
Yeah, this is a good shot. We could probably use some of this silent. We were silent. Took the audio out.
She's a dog. Ah. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Things say, you know, we want to cut all the trees and make a bold, you know, make it all bold, you know.